Morning all, here we are again. So this is picking up on what happened week commencing the 25th of February. So still prepping for selling the house, Ashgrove House. Getting back to doing, just taking it really to silly levels. He did put sand in the block paving outside the front, and as I'm driving up everything, picking up everything around the house that still needs doing. So the drive had sand on it, tried brushing it and it just, for some reason or other, just seems to be leaving even more brush marks everywhere. So ended up getting the Dyson Hoover out and hoovering the drive, which, you know, if that doesn't tell you that I'm getting obsessed about this house sale and finishing off and getting things looking as good as possible, then I don't know what else does. Nutty. Anyway, anyway, got all the sand up, which is what was been getting on my nerves, and yeah, that's looking better. Working towards the house viewing, which was set for Saturday of that week. So still lots of things to do around the loft, loads of DIY jobs left to do. Seems like everywhere, as you look around the house, you become invisible to everything, and it just becomes a norm. But then when you start to look a bit deeper and think, oh God, you can see that's dirty around there and that needs cleaning there, and it just seems to be in a house that's, you know, of this size, there's always quite a lot of things to do. So still had Rob coming round, helping me on all that kind of things. Monday, kids went back to school, which, I don't know, I think they, in some days, I know when I used to go back to school, it was cool because I hadn't seen my mates. For the boys, when they're playing online all the time, I don't think they really miss them in the same way, because they're online talking to them for the majority of the day anyway. So just because they don't see them, they're still talking to them. So yeah, I think they were all right with it. They like school, which is good. So on Monday, the family that's got first refusal on this house, that had a look at the house next door, saw the pictures that were taken by the estate agents, and they said yeah, they like the look of the house, so that was good. They set up a viewing to view on the Saturday of last week. So we're still busy working at home and still trying to keep an email, an eye on all my emails as they come through. Jess sent me an email to ask if I could come into work. She needed to talk to me, so I duly obliged, went into work. We're doing all the Costa boards at the moment, so saw a guy, we've got two Robs who work for us now. So there's obviously there's Rob who does kind of like the installs and the DIYs and all the rest of those things, and then we also have a gentleman who helps out in a temporary basis. His name's, we refer to him as Welsh Rob, because that's what he likes to call himself. And so Bob did, and he was in the print room with Darren, busily helping with all the production of the Costa boards. So it's a hi to him. I think that's the first time might only be the second time I've seen him. So I went in and said hi. Then got sat down and called. Yeah, there was just myself and Jess in the room. So sat down and yeah, you know when you can just tell. Funny enough, I was really hungry at the time, and this one will probably stick in my mind because I like rice cakes, and I had a rice cake, and I said, do you mind if I eat the rice cake? And I just literally put it in my mouth, thinking I was going to nibble away and listen to what she was saying, when she went, Mike, and you can just tell, even just in the way that when somebody says to you a particular word and all she said was Mike, I was like, oh, I know what's coming here. And so I'd literally stopped mid-bite, I hadn't even finished, it was in my mouth, so a big, I don't know, must be about that size, in there, sat there, and I just thought, oh, here we go. And sure enough, it was Jess had decided to hand a notice in. She's been offered another job in a I don't know what you describe it as. I suppose it's another agent. Well, I don't know whether it is another agency of sort. It's a business that how can I describe it? I think they basically design inside of show houses, something along those lines. She's going to be a project manager for there. So obviously that's it's a double-edged sword. I'm pleased for her that she's moving her career in a onwards and upwards direction. Obviously sad, because at any time that we lose somebody who I think is really good and really strong within the business, then that creates a hole that then needs to be filled, and then there's always that risk, will the person fit in, will the person not fit in? So if you've got somebody who's slotted into your company really well and then they go, it's always a bit of a disappointment. But it's if you've got good people, and it's inevitable that in this connected day and age that are going to get times where people are offered jobs or offered positions. And I think that probably underlines why it's a good idea, certainly in my opinion, to be just good to the people who work with you, and not give them a reason where they feel like that they'd entertain offers elsewhere. But when the inevitable happens and somebody does hand in a resignation, then certainly from my point of view, I think you've got to, on both of your parts really, you've got to go out in as positive a way as possible. And even if things are going to finish on a particularly not on a not particularly good note, then even if it's on the worst case, I will always do everything in my power to make sure that that when they leave the company, to leave certainly on a one-to-one basis with me, that we always leave on speaking terms. But certainly not the way with Jess. We get on great, so I think it's just sad that she's going. But on the flip side of things, Dan, who works with her and been working alongside of her on M&S, again, this kind of underlines why it was a good idea to set it up like that, because he's been working on the M&S rebrand project for the last 5-6 months, something along those lines. So he really does know what he's doing, and he's really, really very, very clever. So that's provides an opportunity for him as well to kind of like to pick up with support from me, and make sure with the support we'll definitely be able to see the rest of the rollout through, which is good. So yeah, Tuesday, Rob, we'll call him Scouse Rob if you want to call him that, Rob from Liverpool, he came over and he's been kind of doing helping with the last bits on the outside of the house. That's things like varnishing the doors on the outside where the dogs have been. They like to scratch when they come in, so so the doors have got like dog scratches on them, and just the sun has been beating down on the doors, and just needed a rub down and recoating with stain. So Rob come over and helped with that. We also fitted I know it's hard, you won't be able to see, but under the counter lights that are under the cupboards, they haven't worked for, I don't know, maybe 5 years or something along those lines. So I bought some new ones of those, and that was literally, to get those working was just a question of the same fitting. So it was just a question of unplugging the old ones and plugging the new ones in, and they're now working really nice. Again, I don't know, I can't think, probably came to about 90 quid or something like that, and you go, well, you know, why spend that 90 quid? You know, it seems if you're leaving the house, why do that? And again, it's all for that first impressions. I know when the photographer came in and we had the lights on, he said something along the lines of, oh, you got under-counter lights? And I was like, yes, we have, but they haven't worked in a long time. So the logic then goes, well, if you're doing that, then it would make sense to get the lights working again, so that when any viewings go down, that people are getting the best impression that they can of the house. So they're all done. I know, it's just kind of kicking myself really, but it is what it is. Caught up on my backlog of emails for work when I was working at home during the day. Did another tip run of more stuff from the loft. That's now pretty much got to the point where everything that can be thrown out in that kind of first layer of tidying's been done. Picked up the rug doctor from the B&Q, which is like a carpet cleaning product. So I was a bit dubious about that as to whether I'd seen these things work. When we sold our last house, there was a guy who came round, and rather than actually hiring something like a rug doctor or anything like that, it was literally a mobile one-man band who came round and doing it. And I remember at the time, he was a really big guy, and literally he was doing this job, steam cleaning the carpets. The sweat was rolling off him. The guy who was doing it was quite out of condition and carried a bit of timber, and the sweat was rolling off him. So I was a little bit dubious, number one, whether the cleaning of the carpets would be successful. You know, how long it would take, but we cracked on. Wen helped me with that. She was kind of like helping the leads and what have you. And as you're going along, and you it was really mainly for cleaning the carpets in predominantly Matt and Brody and Matt's room. Brody's rooms had kind of like stains on the carpets, and now, again, probably for as long as I can remember, I think he dropped some kind of liquid up there or something like that, and then it had left some stains. So again, I was a bit dubious on whether these things worked, and I have to say, shocking or surprisingly enough, they did. I mean, certainly as you're going along and you put some water in a reservoir, warm water and soap, and then you have a top reservoir that collects the dirt, and as you're going along, you drag the machine backwards. You can see, all you can see is really a load of soap subs coming through, going into the top header tank. And it's only when you stop the machine and you have to empty the top header tank, I don't know, maybe every 5 minutes or so. Yeah, probably every 5 minutes. And then it's when you pour the water out, and the water's black, and it's like, the carpet doesn't look that much different, but the water's coming out, and it's really like a really muddy, a very, very muddy dark colour. So it must be doing something, but when you look at the carpet, it doesn't really seem to be doing that much. So just really kept on going, and yeah, I have to say, it actually did bring all the dirt out of the carpet, which was a present surprise. I think it was maybe £34 to do the 2 rooms. I mean, it was hard work. So you've got a choice, which is kind of how much stuff do you take out of the room. So Brody's got a gigantic double bed, weighs a ton. So really, and like cupboards and what have you, in an ideal world, if we were staying here, or if we were moving into maybe another house, which obviously will be at some point, then it may make sense to You do that. You'd do the rug doctoring when there was no furniture in there, but what we had just had to do is move what we could, and then hoover around the remaining area. So pretty much the visible area that they come in, they're not going to go around and go, oh, that carpet's completely dirty and needs changing, what have you. It's just trying to remove any reasons for anybody who's viewing the house to not come in and have negative markers, like the negative markers that I've seen when I've gone round Wits End. Wits End's obviously like a slightly different one, because it's not just a house that we're getting, it's obviously all the other options that come with it, so it doesn't really kind of count. But I certainly want any first impressions that anybody has going around our house to be, only the minorest of minor complaints that they can have from a DIY point of view. Yes, they may come in and go, I really don't like greeny blue colour, we're going to have to paint that. Well, there's not really very much you can do that, but as long as the paint looks as clean as it does, or looks quite clean and quite fresh, then I think that's as much as you can really do. We watched the last one of the Luthers, so we've seen them all. I think it's, it was all right. It's been pretty good. I wouldn't say. I mean, it's for a series that we watch in terms of a box set. Obviously, it's quite short because you've only got 4 series and maybe less than, between 10 to maybe 10 or 12 episodes. So that's not really very long in terms of a series for us. But yeah, it was okay, and it was something different, quite nice. But it's something that Brody can watch at the same time, whereas a lot of the other box set seems to be targeted to an older age group, one that we wouldn't be comfortable with Brodes watching. So yeah, watched the last one of that. We've got an interesting one from one of our clients where they've asked us to rebrand M&S Edinburgh Airport, which is good, because we'd actually thought that somebody else had come along and kind of hoovered up that part of their business from us, in terms of that they were doing everything from the refit and painting and tiling and such, and then they were also doing the signage as well. But it appears that they've now come back to us for a quote on the signage, which was good, so we put that in on there. Well, we started getting the quotes in for that on the Tuesday. On the Wednesday, it was more to do with still getting more back into, you could call it a phase return into work, but I did some work on a Burger King promotion for milkshake, to promote milkshakes. So that was quite good, just like going on the kind of asset bank and looking for all the assets that go with it in terms of imagery and existing artwork that we could adapt. Got some still on Wednesday. I'm waking up, still got a pain in my neck and shoulders, like one of those ones where you literally have to rotate your whole body instead of just turning your neck, so that's still giving me quite a lot of discomfort. Going back into work is good for me. It definitely felt much happier than I've felt for a while. I don't think doing all the DIY and being away from work, it certainly doesn't make me happy. I don't look at it as I don't enjoy the DIY side of things, and definitely if you're a workaholic, being away from work is not a good thing. One thing I would say this year has been amazing for the February. We're getting to the end of it, and weather-wise, it's a lovely mild day. We've had such a so it's been really quite warm. There's even pictures in the news of people going down to beaches in bikinis and what have you, in dipping in the sea, and they must be absolutely mad, because the sea, even in the height of summer, is freezing cold at the best around the UK. But certainly at this time of year, there are just some crazy people. But I think they're just doing it for the sake of getting the photo into news channels. So we did get got some good news in that we put the quote in for the Edinburgh Airport job, and that was accepted, so that's good. So we get to do the Edinburgh Airport job sometime at the end of March. So that was a very, very pleasant thing to hear. Unfortunately, the pitch that we went for, the other in the last week or so, I think it was last week. Yeah, unfortunately we came second in that, and that was really quite, you'd call it, I don't know, quite devastating news, I think, for us, because we'd really, I don't know whether you'd call it counted your chickens, or we really thought, yeah, we've definitely got this one nailed. Everything seemed to go well on the pitch, and yeah, I mean, it's sad. Just felt, I know certainly Wayne took it really, really, really hard. I think all the rest of the team would do as well, because we are quite lucky in terms of we don't really do that many pitches per se. It's more that people will come to us through recommendation, and we'll tend to grow a relationship, and in the work will come from there. And on this particular one, to lose out and to come second out of 12 was a very, very bitter pill. Turns out there wasn't very much between us and the company that won the work. I think it was mainly due to the board who did the interview thought that they had more experience. They certainly went in with their MD. They had older, more mature heads. I mean, I'm a little bit more philosophical, so we do get to, I think they start 1st of April, I think, is when they take over the work. So we've got until the end of April to work with these people. I think we're still going to be working for them, doing work for video. So that gives us a chance for them to experience the service, I'd like to say the better service levels that we can provide. And then gives us a chance to build relationships with them. And then I think, there is always that slim possibility that if the other company come in and then they aren't able to deliver on the promises that they've made, then it could be that there's still a chink, and there's still a possibility we might be able to claw or get back in there. It does seem to be interesting that one of the other people who are on the panel had also expressed a desire to work with us direct, which is interesting. We'll have to see whether something comes of that. But yeah, overall, very, very, very disappointing news for us. Certainly would have changed the dynamic on the marketing side of the business, in terms of we would certainly have had to take on more staff. Now as it is, I think it just means we're just going to have to rethink how things are, but whatever will be will be. We also got a cost in for the cost to rebuild the stable side of Wits End, and we're talking tens of thousands of pounds. I mean, I'd had an estimate in my head that might have been, let's say, where I thought it might have been about 25 grand, and it was higher than that. So it's like, wow, can that really be right? I mean, literally all we're doing is we're taking off a roof, putting in some new trusses and putting the same roofing tiles back on. It's like, wow, can that come? I think we'll obviously have to rebuild a bit of the wall as well and stuff, and do the insides. It just seems like a lot of money. So that's I don't know, I would say it's, again, it was another piece of disappointment. It's not the end of the world because the whole Wits End thing is a project. It's not, never thought any of it was going to be an overnight, an overnight thing to get it done. So, yeah, so onwards we go with that. Thursday I worked from home again, tried to doing a lot of the DIY, watched the highlights from last night's football. So Liverpool played Watford and they won 5-0, which is good. They're just literally now a point ahead of, in the league, where they're a point ahead of Man City still. So it's, they were at one stage, they were on paper, I don't think it was on the same number of games played. At one point they were 10 points ahead. So that gap now is down to 1 point. That's all a little bit getting a bit nerve-wracking on that. So I did spend a lot of the day doing repainting of walls. I'm looking over there because that was one of the walls that I was repainting. So if you maybe don't have to paint the whole wall. I think you just got to paint the area or clean the area that's dirty and then try and almost like blend it out. And if we've got a situation where we didn't have any spare paint, so we've literally gone back in. I've tried to have paint that's mixed, at B&Q, or there's a paint shop on Navigation Way, and although it's exactly the same colour mix, because they don't have the same base unit, which is, I think they get the paint out and that's like the paint colour, like a base white or something along those lines, and they squirt whatever the mixture's in, and then they shake the can up, and then that's how you end up with your colour. But that base white isn't the same as the base white that when it was painted maybe 5 years ago, something along those lines. So yeah, there is a definite difference in shade. It's not so much the shade, it's more of the sheen really than the shade. So I think I came to the conclusion that because it's a washable paint, it was an endurance paint, that the better thing to do is to put the paint on and then literally clean the dirt off the wall. So this is where the kids are coming down, so they'll brush against the wall rather than holding the banister, and that's then made over time the dirt's built up as they've just literally been rubbing their clothes down the side of the walls. So all that had to be scrubbed off, which was really, really hard going. I think I had to go topless on that particular one due to the physical heat. Of literally all scrubbing of walls was really hard, but it made a good job of that, so that's good. Finished off pretty much all the other painting and DIY jobs. I'd even done things to the point of siliconing underneath where the counter lights are. It used to be there's like a trim at the bottom, and then you could see like light bleed where you could see the under counter lights but through kind of like the front. So I've been along and siliconed underneath all those. So yeah, that was good. Watched a first draft of a video concept for Science 24/7 as a kind of like standalone brand, which had a nice animation of the logo, looks really good, and some nice sonic branding, as in the noise that comes in or the sound that's attached to the logo. So yeah, that's good. And the guys had done a video that's based on Snatch, which is a film with Brad Pitt. It's that one where he's, I think he might be playing a part of Brad Pitt's playing a part of a gypsy fighter, I think, something along those lines. But it's very much a cult kind of movie. Yeah, it looks really good, I have to say. What the final one looks like, certainly it's going to be one execution. It's probably going to skew, maybe I can see it skewing to like a younger audience, or certainly a sub I don't know, between 20 and 40, I could see it really working well with the majority of people. We're still going to have to do another shot though, one that kind of focuses on more of a quality and experience message. So we'll run both of the campaigns together, and we'll see which one gets more in terms of click-throughs to the website, and then you just pour more of skew the ad spend to the one that's working better for clients. I suppose that's probably going to be the best way to go. We got a booking from another agency to do some drone work in Liverpool, which is good. That came from pay-per-click, which is, it makes you think, because obviously I maybe spend about between 25 and 30 quid a week on advertising on pay-per-click, which isn't much, but what it is we actually do bid high for the keywords and the key phrases to actually pick, to actually get the ad. It's just that we're going for a very, very narrow amount of keywords. So, for example, not when we might have put in videos or something like that, along those lines, and then we're getting a load of clicks of people who were looking for kind of like rude videos. So that will literally, we're spending our daily budget, and then we went down for we put in negative keywords. So although it's looking for video as one of the keywords, you can then say you can still look for video, but it doesn't say, I don't know, any videos that relate to adult videos, shall we say, is like a negative keyword. So that's really good. They picked us up from that, so that proves that's working, and you really only need one or two decent jobs for that to then make sure that the money that you're spending on the advertising is paying back. So that was good. Rob came in the afternoon. He's been filling in during the day, doing quite a lot of driving jobs for us, because Sherry's away at the moment on holiday, so Rob's covering that off, so that's good. But he came in after 5 o'clock and did some paint, some more, finished off the varnishing on the doors outside. So, oh god, yeah, I tell you, that was the other thing, the cooker hood, that was one of the things I had to do on the Thursday. God, that was, I don't know how, but that had got so just literally completely covered in grease. I don't even know what we even cook on the hob that could have greased it up, but it was literally like thick. It's like a mesh that's on there, and it looked like it was coated in honey. Absolutely foul. But I used the Mr. Muscle oven cleaner, sprayed it with that, left it for 20 minutes, give it a good scrub, and that's now all come up looking, it just all looks like new. And again, it's this same thing. Well, you know, I could have done that cleaning any time. Why do I, you know, why wait to the point that you're leaving a house to actually put the effort in to get it cleaned and nice? Because I'm looking at it now thinking, wow, it looks, you know, yeah, it looks really, really nice. It looks sparkling and new again. Frustrating, but hey, there you go. All in the all to the ends of trying to actually get the house sold, which is the main thing to move on. Friday was back in the office today, fully. They're pretty much finished now on the DIY bits that I could do. We got a call around lunchtime from somebody who'd accused Rob driving, it was swerving all over the road. So we've now got we have dash cam footage within the van, so that's good, so we could always refer back to that. But it turns out when Rob came in around lunchtime and we asked him about it, it was just literally another guy in a white van where the two of them had like literally a stare off. But it does certainly encourage me to think about making sure that the vans do have numbers in. Apparently it's quite a common thing, even with Jess works I think she still works part-time in the taxi office sometimes to help them out, and with her own fella's also a taxi driver, and you'll literally get people ringing up complaining actually to the taxi driver itself, because he's got like his number on the side of the taxi, and then people will ring up complaining about his driving to him, and he'll go, oh yeah, I will speak to the driver, and of course he is the actual physical driver. But it is quite a common, it is quite a common thing for people to have a bit of road rage and then ring up and complain. But on the same basis, if people ring up and, we don't want to be in a situation, and I think I'd also said to Rob that we don't want to be in a situation where, you're putting yourself at risk as much as anything else, because there are some crazy people out there. The last thing I want Rob to be doing is getting into some kind of a road rage incident with some other member of the public, and he ends up getting hurt or something like that. So as much for his own safety, I want him to be as passive a driver as is possible. And I think it's a difficult thing, because your driving style is you probably inherit your driving characteristics possibly from one of your parents or people who you've been in the car with, and you'll pick up your driving styles from them. When, for instance, he's a very quick driver, and I think my mum certainly likes driving as well, so I think that's possible where she gets that from. Elliot, I know, is prone to he does get frustrated with other people. Elliot, who works for us, he does get frustrated with other people who drive on the roads, and I think he'll be the first to admit that he's probably picked that up from his dad as well. So I'm certainly going to make sure that all the older vans that we have are always liveried up, because I think you do, even if it's that somebody's going in and making false or exaggerated claims about your drivers, then it should serve as a reminder for them that that they are being watched, and members of the public are on there, and they do have the ability, because the number's there, to ring up and complain, and then you're going to be held, maybe not held account, but you're certainly going to be asked questions about it. And then of course we have the dash cam footage that we can review. I've got it definitely records sound as well, so if you were cursing, or it would pick up any voices you'd say, so at least we actually do have that. Because at the time, I think when I put the dash cams in, I was like, why am I doing that? And the main reason was to just protect us from insurance. So if anybody slammed on the brakes or anything like that, then we'd have the ability where we could we'd have the footage on there that we could show that the incident wasn't of our making, that kind of thing. But it would appear that it's got a fringe benefit. As it happened, with the incident, we didn't even replay that particular one. As far as I'm concerned, Rob's an honest guy. He was quite open and honest about what had happened in terms of the incident, so that was it. It was more of a point to be. I think that kind of like wrapped it up where I was happy about it. Friday, Elliot and Aidan were actually out doing a fit at Hilton Park. The M&S rebrand was finished by one of our external install crews, so that's the second scheme down out of this current one that we're doing for the complete store rebrand, so that was good. We also had a meeting with Dan, who works for us, who works with Jess. We took him. He decided that he wanted to come off his apprenticeship and decided to join us full time, so we had to tell the apprentice provider that. So that was good. We also let the other people within the company know that Dan was now actually a full-time employee, Ella, who's also an apprentice, she's decided to continue on with the apprenticeship, which is good. If she'd have wanted to come off, then again, that's something that we would have considered. But ultimately, I think from an apprenticeship goal, I think the end game, as much as anything else, is for them to be taken on in full-time employment. So I think it's a win. It's a win for everybody, really. It's a win for them in that they've got an apprentice into a full-time job, and it's a win for us that we've got ourselves, somebody who certainly got the potential to do really great things. He's been, in fact, both the apprentices this time have been, I would say, exceptional quality. Really, really great people. Saturday was. Saturday was the day of the house viewing, so still felt like there was a lot of things left to do. I was even tidying stuff up in the loft to try and make it so you could literally see pretty much a clear path on one side of the loft. On the side that used to have all the toys in is now kind of like being like tidied through, and it's mainly on the right hand side. The corner that we have, which we refer to as Nana's Corner, which is like a built-in gazebo, something like that. We had all the cushions to push back on there, hoovering, cleaning of bathrooms, that kind of thing. It was like, it's really, really stressful. Really stressful. Certainly there was frayed tempers from myself. I think we were due at 11:30, so what we ended up having to do was I took the dogs out for a walk about 11:15 when the guy, Graham, who came round, who was doing the viewing. Apparently the viewings are best to be done by the estate agents rather than myself, so I took the dogs out, briefed the guy on all the I don't know, strengths or the points within the house, just things to tell the potential buyers about. So they came around at 11:30, while Wend and I was then walking the dog. I think we walked past the end of the road so we could see what car they had, and we're like, yeah, they are actually going around the house. So they had actually turned up. We went and then we went to walk around Lethbridge. I think we got a bar of chocolate, something like that, to share as we walked around, and we got a call. It was maybe about 11:45, so I don't know, I think they'd probably been looking around the house maybe about 20 minutes, and they finished the viewing, so we came back, and yeah, they said that they liked the house, and it was the right kind of size that they were looking for in the right area. So that sounded pretty much about as positive as a feedback for me as you could really wish for. Although I don't know, in my head it's a bit of a weird one, because I'm just thinking, okay, you've been looking for a house, you're in rented, you've been looking around, you must have seen goodness knows how many houses, you'd put an offer on that house, was the only house that you put an offer in so far. Then you've seen this house, which I think, obviously I'm going to be biased, which I think is probably probably a better layout. I think even at the time, and in slightly better position, we've been in between the middle of two of the three houses that's on this little road. And I think even Dave and Carl, who used to live there, who are our friends, they'd come round and said, yeah, okay, we'd, out of the two houses, we actually think that this house that we've got is a better layout, and it works better in terms of a family home. So for me, I'm like thinking, well, if you've been round, then what is there to debate? You go round, you see the home, you go, okay, well, either you like it or you don't. Different for us with Wits End, because obviously it's a more complex thing, because it's a home and a business. I mean, if I was looking for a home, this is the irony, I think, with Wits End. Probably if I was looking for a home on my own, although it's a more, it's a more expensive, definitely a more expensive home. I don't look at it and go, I wouldn't, if it was just a home on its own, I don't think I would buy it. But there's more, you know, it's not just a home, a land, it's the home and the business and everything else. So there's a lot more to the offer. It's the overall package. I think when I'd done a reply, I think Darren who works was in the print room had been just like catching up and going, you know, I'm still going ahead and looking at all this extra machinery and stuff. And I think I'd sent him an email, something along the lines of, and said, well, pretty much this is the right way for us. This is pretty much the only way that we can get to the point of, having the point where instead of renting, we're actually owning the grounds that we're then paying, that the business is paying the money for, and that kind of like makes sense, because it means that every time you're paying for the rental, the mortgage fee, whatever it is, then obviously you're paying a little bit down of the capital that you owe on the actual loan itself. You may only be, let's say at the start off, you may only be paying back a couple of thousand a year, but it's still a couple of thousand, you know, over a 10 or 15 year period. Then you're going to have paid back tens of thousands that would have elsewise gone in somebody else's pocket. So yeah, why not? That's one of the reasons that makes sense to go through. I suppose that's probably one of the main reasons, other than the wide amount of options. Saturday, I was on. They said that, I think the plan was on that they would ring, the estate agent would ring them on the Sunday at 11 o'clock, and then just give them the option to make an offer. And if they didn't want to make an offer, then it would go, the advert would go live on the estate agent site, and it would be put out to the wider market and put onto Rightmove, etc. So we're still in a situation where they've kind of got first refusal to make an offer before anybody else. Saturday night, Mac had his mates round, which was it's always a pain, because the dog schnauzers are just, they're looking at me now, they just bark. I suppose probably lots of dogs do bark. It's a territorial thing. If they see strangers walking around, would I want them to be barking like crazy? Yes, I would. But then when they are Mac's friends and their dogs can see them walking around in the house, then they are absolutely barking and going berserk. So yeah, we had, so they were, I think, did he have maybe about 3 people stopping over? So yeah, we went to bed before them, they stayed up late. We watched the fire documentary on Netflix. I fell asleep towards the end of it. Sherry and Mick came round, they had a bit of a catch up. We just had some like nibbles and what have you around this table, just chatting about their holiday on their way back from, they'd been away to Egypt with all their friends from the Harley bike club. So yeah, we went in the front room and saw some of the photos that he took. They'd done some great things, in dolphins swimming. Yeah, look, really, some place in, it was like a resort, like a built resort in Egypt. Far away, you could describe it probably from like a traditional Egypt. So not, certainly when I've been to Egypt once, and I went on a cruise when I was away on a lad's holiday, and we went to Cyprus, and then went on a cruise to Egypt, and we saw the pyramids. But I remember going up the Nile as we were going towards the Cairo, on the port of Cairo, and as we were going up, you go up the river, and you like kind of look down at the fields, and the people are still tilling the fields, or turning the fields over with a buffalo and a wooden plough. So it's like, wow, there are still people farming in a very, what I would classify as a very, very basic way. I mean, they're not driving around there in tractors. These guys are doing hard manual labour. Where Sherry and Mick were staying is more kind of looked like a resort, similar similar to maybe like a Dubai type thing, where you've got man-made inlets for sea, and then they've built hotel complexes around there. Yeah, it looked really, really nice. So yeah, Saturday, yeah, it was a good social night. Sunday, I was up around woke up around 7 o'clock, something like that. I still felt still feeling pretty more, I don't even call it anxieties, but what I was feeling just felt really like twisted up inside. I think it was like the nerves from not having a phone call from the potential buyers making an offer. So it's just like, are they going to make an offer or aren't they? Surely they would have discussed it straight off. I don't understand, why are we waiting around, kind of thing. So that was literally just felt like a countdown till 11 o'clock when the estate agent was supposed to be ringing them. Decided to take the dogs out for a walk early on in that day because there was storms that was due in. I was also going to be watching the football later on Sunday. So I took the dogs out for a walk down along the path that runs directly down next to the Weaver Navigation. That was good. We were doing some kind of a boat race down there as well, so it was really, really busy. That kind of brought the timing up. I think I got back about 11 o'clock. Spoke to Wend, asked her about kind of like, what do you think we should do? I think we pretty much agreed to leave it till 1 o'clock before doing anything else, give them another couple of hours for them to have a bit of time to come to some kind of a decision. Continue doing some work around the house. We had some, I think it was getting up to about 1 o'clock then. Decided that was it, couldn't really wait any further, so we rang the estate agents, and I don't think rang the estate agents, that's right, but they hadn't actually didn't get through, had to leave a message on the mobile phone. So made some lunch, and just while we were finishing up on that, they then called us back, and it turns out that the family had just been they've got 2 young kids, 2 young boys, and they just hadn't had time to sit down and discuss it. Seems like crazy to me, but different. Everybody's different, I guess. But they then asked if they said that they liked the house and they wanted to make an offer on it, which they would make tomorrow morning, as in Monday morning. And I think we pretty much said, well, okay, well, if they are going to make any offer, that it needs to be clear that it's pretty much got to be full asking price or pretty much as near as, because we need that money. All our figures are basically there's no room for negotiation. We've priced it as low as we can to be able to make the deal come through. So here we are. So that was good for me, because obviously the stress of waiting for it was just literally driving me nuts, making me sad, I think, as much as anything else. So my parents came round to watch the derby, Liverpool playing Everton. Tight game again. This I think the pressure's pretty much on Liverpool, because Man City had played yesterday, so they'd gone top of the league, clear by I think 2 points or something along those lines. So yeah, I mean, derby games are always tight. I don't think Mo Salah's particularly on amazing form at the moment. Certainly both sides had opportunities where they could have won the game, but it finished 0-0. Possibly the fairest result at the end of the day, and still a point against Everton. Still a good, it's still a point in the right direction. So that leaves Liverpool now a point behind in the title race. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where they get back on track. They've had four draws out the last 6 or something like that. I think it is 4 draws out of the last 6. So the actual form, if you look at extracting the points out for the rest of the season on the remaining 9 games, and obviously that would mean if you drew every game, there's 9 games left, you get 9 points out of 27. So I think you wouldn't even finish in the Champions League places on that form. So it's going to be interesting seeing how that pans out. Finally decided that I'd had enough with tried to get Brody needed something printing out for his homework, so tried to get the colour print Samsung printer working again. I kind of took it apart as much as I could, but it's still, every time you press print on it, it says either paper mismatch, paper jam, and it's just like, oh yeah, I know, to be fair, you know, the printer's 6 years old, kind of what you expect, you know, doesn't work at all. So got one of the old, it's actually a printer I think I've even got back from Casper days that I used to have when I worked at home with Casper, and put that on, and that literally worked first time. It's a black and white printer, it's quick, and it just worked straight away, so that was good. Did Sunday, I also did the final kind of re-looked at the desks, the layout for desks. So we're going to have bespoke desks. The desks that we have at the moment are big radial desks. They just take up lots of room. They also have, and kind of all desks that pretty much you have, don't really have it to the point where the screens are there's a DSE regulation or display screen equipment, and kind of like a monitor's kind of like got a bit of like the right height, so you're when you're sat at a level, you've not got to be looking down, you've got to be looking straight forward, so it's all to do with like a posture thing. So what we do at the moment, we have these boxes, they're like little drawers which you've got to B&Q, and you can't get them anymore, made of cardboard, but then they kind of, we use them as monitorizers, and so yeah, I've literally finished on like looking at the detail of the size and design on them. So the desks are going to be made from using scaffolding board, so kind of like quite cheap materials, which will then be like screwed together and bonded together and stained and stuff. Just literally checking the dimensions for those, working out how the cupboards fit on them. So that took maybe about an hour and a half. So I've sent those off to a local guy, somebody Wendy actually used to work with when she was teaching, and he's a guy who's now full-time, does things like makes and delivers wood that would be delivered to things like pubs to burn in the wood burners. Sounds crazy, but that's what he does, one of the things he does for a living. So I've sent the designs over to him so we can get a prototype desk made, and I think the desk, we're going to make the first prototype, and then so we can try one in the office, and then just try it for size and make sure that it actually works before we then build another 20 desks. I mean, the other thing that annoys me about desks is also that where all the wires go as well. So the desks are set up in a way that screen the majority of the wires off, just so they just look as tidy as is possible, as tidy and as wire free as is possible. I mean, anywhere that you've got IT stuff, then 9 out of 10 times you're going to see wires. So anything you do for me to make them less of a spaghetti junction of wires and to hide that away, then the better it is. Also, the desks are going to they're going to be made with scaffold piping for the the actual legs on them, so they're going to have a very like rustic steampunk kind of feel, which is the look that we're going at for Wits End. So I think that's also another fringe benefits, and it will just give us a little bit more personality. I think just gives the agency a bit more personality, as well as being a little bit small and a little bit more practical. So yeah, I was doing the detail on that, even to the point where this morning I was thinking of building these little cupboards that go underneath, that suspend underneath the desk. And I was like, right, okay, the external size is 300, and then it suddenly occurred to me, the first thing I thought of this morning, well, can't make the internal sides needs to be big enough to get a pad. Oh. Excuse me. Big enough to get an A4 padding in the cupboard underneath. So I'm going to have to that'll be my first job this morning, I'll be redoing the brief over to the guy who's looking at making the prototype desk. So still struggling at the moment. Well, on a personal point of view at the moment, my neck is much better, so it's certainly freeing up. Still a bit sore, but I don't think I'm going to need to go to the person who does the manipulation and what have you, the massage, sports massage guy. I'm not going to need to go there, which is good. Waking up in the morning, I'm still aiming to get 7 hours worth of sleep, but I woke up at 4:30 still, so that's kind of let's have a look, so 10:30, so 4, so that's still like 6 hours sleep. So I'm literally then going back, trying to just literally doze off and just literally stay in bed to train myself to sleep that bit longer. It's trying to re-hardwire myself to sleep for 7 hours, and it's now, I think I've maybe been doing this for about 3 weeks, and I still haven't cracked it. I'm still waking up after 6 hours, but I'm forcing myself to stay in bed. So yeah, keep persevering, I suppose, is the way. So today, back to work, and yeah, well, we'll have to see what if the family provide an offer at the level that we're looking for. Certainly, I'm certainly not going to drop to the point where we then have to go back to to our vendors and looking for them to reduce the cost. That certainly won't be in my plan, because if anything, I think if we actually put the thing up to open market, I'm pretty confident that we'd actually have probably potentially a situation where more than one person wanted the house, and that could then be a position where where the highest bid, where they'd have to go to sealed bids or something like that, and possibly would get maybe over the asking price. But bottom line is, we just need enough to make the deal happen, and then we can move on from there and move on to all the challenges and problems that's gonna throw up. So yeah, onwards, here we go again. So till the next week, thank you for listening.